Good evening, everybody. I'm Lieutenant Hauser, and I'm here to perform a skit. The junior officers are going to perform a skit for the most accurate account of the Battle of Midway ever seen. Over 70 years have elapsed since the Battle of Midway occurred, and during those years, there has always been some degree of controversy as to what exactly happened between the Imperial Japanese Navy and the United States Navy on the morning of 4 June 1942 off the island of Midway. Well, ladies and gentlemen, wait no further, because you're about to witness the most accurate account of the Battle of Midway ever seen. Enter Midway Island.
Oh, yes.
Admiral Nimitz's big objective prior to the battle was to get his 3 available carriers to Midway, including the badly damaged Yorktown. Admiral Halsey's Task Force 16 with Hornet Enterprise was back in Hawaii by 26 May, having voyaged from the Western Pacific and the Southeast Asian theater. They were ordered to depart for Midway on 28 May. Enter Hornet and Enterprise. Admiral Fletcher and USS Yorktown departed Hawaii a day later, having suffered death at the Battle of Pearl Sea at the beginning of May. And in less than 3 days, was ready for action and sent back to sea. Her destination is Midway.
That's gotta be a yellow card somewhere.
In fighting the battle, Admiral Nimitz could commit no more than 3 carriers, 8 cruisers, and 14 destroyers. By 3 June, Yorktown, Hornet, and Enterprise were ready and lying in ambush, with the Japanese having no idea they were there. Admiral Fletcher on board USS Yorktown was in overall command of both task forces. Admiral Halsey was hospitalized during the battle due to a stress-related skin condition. After the carriers were set up at an area deemed to Point Luck, BBY started a near-continuous patrol searching for IGN forces. Enter the American scout plane. Oh wait, ladies and gentlemen, we just heard that the scout plane is delayed due to broken windshield wiper, and they will be taking off shortly. Enter the American scout plane. June 4th. Enter all the Japanese carriers in order of Soru, Akagi, Kaga, and Hiru.
That's a lot of carriers.
Dawn on the 4th.
Easy killer.
Dawn on the 4th saw the 2 fleets begin to launch their aircraft. There were over 100 aircraft launched in the early morning light. At 0430, Admiral Nagumo's Japanese aircraft were ready to launch their softening up strike against Island of Midway's defenses. Launch your aircraft! He held back over 100 of his available strike aircraft, arming them with torpedoes and bombs for an attack against any possible American warships in the area. Such a possibility was deemed unlikely. Unfortunately for the Japanese Navy, and very crucially for American forces, there was a technical problem with the Japanese cruiser Tone, which delayed the launch of her scout aircraft for a half of an hour. Japanese scout plane launch. PBYs from Midway sighted Nagumo's carriers and the incoming strike.
They're coming.
All available strike aircraft on Midway were launched to attack the Japanese carriers and escape the Japanese bombing. None of the U.S. aircraft were caught on the ground when the Japanese airstrike hit Midway. Japanese fighter bombers bomb Midway. Fight back, Midway. Shoot your gun. That involves you shooting your gun.
Who left the incident
Admiral Nagumo received word stating that a second strike was necessary for Midway. No sooner had he ordered his reserve aircraft to be rearmed with bombs than anti-shipping weapons for a second strike than Tone's scout plane sighted Fletcher's cruiser and destroyer's screen. Japanese scout plane. Sight the Americans. It took another hour before Nagumo was informed that the American forces included at least one carrier. Somebody, for the love of God, tell Nagumo there's at least one carrier. By the time all the aircraft that had taken part in the attack against Midway returned to their carriers, refueled, and begun to rearm with anti-shipping weapons, it was after 0900. At 0630, an hour after the sighting of Nagumo's carriers had been reported to Fletcher, Enterprise and Hornet began launching their aircraft. Most of the squadrons were separated after the aircraft launched, and the practice formations were not used. A heavy price was paid for the brave attacks. 35 Devastators of the 41 launched were shot down by the Japanese. Vitally, the 3 U.S. torpedo attacks between 9 a.m. and 10:15 delayed the launching of Nagumo's strike, which had been delayed by no fewer than 5 attacks by the Midway-based aircraft. The problem for Nagumo was what to do. He had aircraft returning to his carriers from the first strike on Midway, and there were aircraft on his decks that were fitted with a combination of land attack and anti-shipping weapons. If he waited, Nagumo would have to send the aircraft on deck, down to the hangar, land the returning aircraft, then finish rearming and respot the second strike for launch. In the end, Nagumo decided to take this risk. He would land all aircraft while maintaining the Japanese cap. Nagumo's carriers turned northeast into the wind to launch their aircraft, intent on delivering the death blow to the U.S. flat tops. Precisely at that moment, undetected, the dauntless dive bombers from Enterprise and Hornet arrived overhead Nagumo's carriers, and they could not have been more vulnerable. Soru was the first of the 3 to be struck. The dauntless dive bombers from Enterprise and Hornet arrived overhead. Suri was the first of the three to be struck, was hit with 3 bombs exploding amongst her parked aircraft and penetrating into her hangar, causing fire from stem to stern. Nagumo's flagship, Akagi, was hit by 2 bombs, which resulted in uncontrollable fires and a series of secondary explosions. Kaga was hit by 4 bombs that produced fires and induced internal explosions. The Japanese vulnerability is explained by the decks of their carriers being packed with aircraft and covered with petrol hoses, alongside bombs left lying after plans for the second strike. The battle had been turned in some 5 minutes, and perhaps most importantly, by fewer than 12 bombs. Nagumo's carriers were blazing wrecks. Only Hiru was left undamaged to carry on the fight.
You look good.
In an effort to swing the battle and avenge her sister carriers, she launched aircraft. These were the first Japanese aircraft to be launched against American carriers that day. And they were only able to locate the Yorktown.
Ah, crap.
Yorktown received 3 bomb hits shortly after noon.
Doing good.
The fires on board the Yorktown were put out, and steam was raised again in less than 2 hours. Hiru launched a second strike. This time, putting Yorktown out of action. Enterprise and Hornet launched a second American strike against Hiru. She was hit. Oh yeah. Oh no, your husband's coming back. She was hit by 4 bombs on her forward flight deck, starting unstoppable fires. Nagumo's carrier burned all night and sank the following morning. The Imperial Japanese Navy's first striking fleet had been destroyed, and the Battle of Midway was effectively over. The Japanese had lost.